Hi there, I'm Andy and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about something a little bit different, and that's sort of tech trends we can expect over the coming months and next couple of years. So it's not strictly about crypto, but I'll be referring to crypto quite a bit as well, because there is quite a fair bit of overlap in my opinion. So I'll be looking at some of the stocks which are performing really well at the moment. I'll be looking at why they are performing so well, and also what does it mean for crypto and the whole technology sector, and also, well, some of the recent news and so on. So basically, how this all slots in and how it can impact crypto market, especially in 2024 and 2025. As always, if you like those videos, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Also, if you have any questions, put them in the comment section. And if you'd like to learn more about crypto, NFTs, Web3, please do check out my course, Crypto Like a Pro. You can find all the information in the description. So the first thing I wanted to look at is Nasdaq, because it's an index which is tracking most of the big tech companies. And as you can see, it's been going pretty much parabolic up. It's been on a parabolic way up for quite a while now. I mean, after having a bit of a bumpy ride here, from early May, it's been just going up consistently. And that's not really surprising. Let's look at a few really important stocks within that index. So let's have a look at NVIDIA. And that's absolutely insane, right? So if we zoom out, NVIDIA actually is, well, it was at its all-time high a couple of days ago. It's slightly below that, but it's still way above its previous all-time high, which was in November 21. So we are now almost 2 years later, year and a half later. And as you can see, it was nowhere near that previous all-time high for most of that time. It had quite a nice peak here very recently, and then this massive gap. Essentially, this gap happens when stock closes at a certain price and then opens the next day, because of course, stocks or stock market, unlike crypto, it's not 24/7, right? You can only trade stocks at certain points in time or during certain hours. So at close here, the price was like what, 300, just over $300, 305. And then the next open, it jumped to around 380. And since then it's been bouncing around that territory. So it's a massive, massive jump. And let's look at a few other tech-related stocks. So Google, also performing really well, had a nice jump here. Not as well performing as NVIDIA, but still doing very, very well. Of course, nowhere near its previous highs, but still comparing to where it was, very, very nice recovery. Then if we look at Microsoft, that's also climbing very nicely up. Meta, also very consistently up. Apple, again, very nice climb up. AMD, I think it's also doing pretty well. Massive, massive jump again here. Bit of a dip. How's that doing? Well, not quite as well as NVIDIA, but still performing very well. And so on. So a lot of tech companies are currently doing really, really well. And why is that? Well, there's one very simple reason for it, and that's AI, right? It's been a bit of a buzzword for the last 6 months or so, basically since ChatGPT started gaining some traction late last year. And of course, that started driving a lot of tech companies up, their prices, their products, their hardware, software, and so on. Today, we also had Apple conference, and Apple revealed, amongst other products, their highly anticipated AR VR headset, Vision Pro. However, they're not really calling it a VR headset or AR VR headset. They're actually calling it a spatial computer. So basically what in the past, what Mac did for personal computers, what iPhone did for mobile phones, and started the whole thing with smartphones, or completely changed what we think of as a smartphone, right? Rather than an old BlackBerry or something like that. Now Apple is trying to do the same thing with computing yet again, introducing spatial computing. So this headset will be launched early next year, so early 2024. It's not a cheap device. It's it will start at $3,500, but it's not designed to be an Oculus Quest or something like that. It's designed to be much more than that. What's also really important is that it has Pro in its name. If you look at all Apple products or a lot of Apple products, well, if there is a Pro range, there is usually or always also a consumer grade range. So they're starting with this high-end product, and then most likely within, well, knowing Apple, probably within the next year or so, not only there will be probably also another iteration of this product, but more importantly, there will likely be also a consumer version, which will be much more affordable. And if you watch Apple's keynote, it's really interesting what they're trying to do. Essentially, again, it's not just about VR headset. It's about a completely new way how you use your computer. So you may not necessarily need a computer as such anymore. In the same way, a lot of people don't really need a laptop, but instead they just use an iPad or another tablet, especially if it's with a keyboard and trackpad. I mean, the experience is, for many people, as good as or even better than using a laptop. And this is yet another step in that direction. So what all of this has to do with crypto, NFTs, Web3, blockchain, and so on? Well, let's look at this tweet from Punk6529. If you are not familiar with Punk6529, please do check out his tweets. He's a very, very smart guy, and he's a very influential person in this space, even though no one exactly knows who he is. But this tweet sums it up perfectly. 2030 is when the headsets will be wearable all day and it will be wonderful. Crypto needs to exist so NFTs can exist. And then we can have ownership and sovereignty in our new wild digital world, or wild new digital world. And that's, of course, is referring to Apple Vision Pro announcement. And that sums it up, like I said, perfectly. We are living in an increasingly digital world. This trend will only continue, especially with inventions like this, especially with, I don't know, Meta, I'm sure, is going to release another version of their headset soon. There will be many other companies joining as well. I mean, I know there are other companies doing similar stuff, but this will be only accelerating over time. So we'll be spending more and more time in some sort of virtual or augmented reality. Digital assets will become more and more important. The whole concept of digital ownership and digital scarcity, again, will only become more important over time. It's probably fair to assume that there will be a point in time when our digital assets may become either equally important, or in some cases, or for some groups of people, more important than our physical assets. Because we may actually reach a point where we'll be spending, or some of us will be spending more time in a virtual world than in a real world. And if you think this sounds ridiculous or you don't want to live in a world like this, well, let's just think about it. We're already spending so much time in front of a computer screen. You're watching this video on a computer screen of some sort, mobile phone screen, something. A lot of us spend a ton of time on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, whatever other platform. We're already spending a lot of time in a virtual world. Hell, even if we go to visit a place, discover a new place, wherever, go on holiday, we spend a lot of time just recording it on our phones, taking photos and so on, rather than actually just enjoying the experience. How many times you go to a gig or you watch a music gig and it's just all full of mobile phones? People are not actually immersed in the experience, but instead they're recording it, or just sort of, we have this already cross between real world and digital world. The digital space is really, really important for us. So this whole scenario where digital assets become more important than physical assets is perfectly plausible, right? And 2030, well, that's only about 7 years from now. And of course, we'll be getting there in steps, right? It's not like there'll be nothing and then suddenly we jump to that in 2030. So that's why I think that devices like Vision Pro will have huge impact, maybe not immediately, but certainly quite soon, on how people perceive NFTs and crypto. Because at the end of the day, without blockchain technology, you don't really have digital ownership. That's what NFTs really are for. It's not about trading pictures of monkeys on the internet. I said this many times before. Yeah, it may be fun. Yeah, you can make a ton of money this way. But this is not the end of this technology. It's almost like saying that the whole point of the internet was just sending some messages or spending 3 hours downloading a single song in the 90s, right? That was the apex of that technology. That's not the case. Of course, the internet evolved massively since then, and well, exactly the same thing can be said about blockchain technology. It will evolve massively. So I think that's why it's so important to look at those other developments and see what will likely overlap. And then we can position ourselves accordingly, right? And I'm not talking here about tracking AI tokens, which may have some slight peaks when, I don't know, ChatGPT or GPT-4 comes out and suddenly everyone's raving about AI. So of course, a ton of degens will just jump into those tokens just to make quick money. I mean, sure, that's one thing, but that's not the point. What I'm talking here about is, well, how all those technologies will interlace, how they will react to one another. And at some point, this will lead to a huge boom, similar to what Web 1 was, the original internet, then Web 2 with the rise of social media, and now Web 3 with the whole concept of digital ownership. And I think that the next crypto bull run, so 2024, 2025, we'll see the first step in this direction. I think because of all the things like this. So Apple Vision Pro, crypto gaming, hopefully getting better, and then Bitcoin halving and the usual crypto cycles. I think that bull run will be absolutely huge. Then of course we'll have another dip and then probably another massive bull run, but that probably won't be until 2029, 2030 or something like that. So again, it's so important that you prepare yourself for that next bull run when it comes. And nothing is of course guaranteed, but I'm fairly certain that it will start happening next year, especially second half next year, 2024, and then it will continue into 2025, possibly slightly beyond. So just to sum it up, I think it's really important to look at what's happening in the tech space at the moment and over the next months. What's happening with AI? What's happening with AR and VR technologies? Which companies are looking at blockchain technology? Although I think that will come naturally with time. Implementation of this technology will come naturally with time. And yeah, one way you can play it is look at the tech stocks. And as you can see, there is a ton of money to be made there. I mean, if we look at Nvidia once again, I mean, that jump right there, that was what, 300 going to 400. That was in one day about 30% or so. That's pretty good going, even by crypto standard, right? Let alone when looking at stocks. And if you're into trading options, well, that was just insane move if you could catch it. And of course, that's not the only move like this, right? I'm pretty sure that Meta, wherever it is, I'm sure that Meta will sooner or later respond to Apple's headset in their own way. I'm sure many other companies will do something similar, or they will do something different. They will approach this in their own way. But those companies I've mentioned, Meta, Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Google, AMD, Intel, I would be keeping very close eye on all of those. And of course, if you don't want to go and invest in one specific company, because I don't necessarily recommend investing in something after such a massive jump, or at least not straight after that, then, well, like I said, you can just simply invest in an index, right, which tracks all those companies and then many others. So NASDAQ, because, well, you then have a chance to diversify it or lower your risk because it's a more diversified portfolio because it's a whole index. So that's one option. Second option, look at how all this stuff is linked to crypto and see what crypto companies, what projects are working in this space, because there will be plenty of opportunities there. And something I said on my Twitter before is that, well, look at what people and which companies are still active in this space, because crypto overall has been in a pretty terrible state for quite a while now. So if someone is still sticking around, if someone is still producing content on a regular basis, if someone is still developing their project, If someone is still active, like I said, doesn't matter. If there are influencers, content creators, companies, projects, whatever, it means that, well, there is probably something good happening there, and they have potential to absolutely skyrocket in the bull run. So definitely worth checking that out. So I think that's it from me for today. Like I said, slightly different video, slightly different approach, a bit more focus on stocks and tech and how it all links to crypto. But I think it's all really, really interesting and important to keep an eye on over the next few months. And yeah, the next couple of years should be really, really exciting. I'm really looking forward to 2024, 2025. I think crazy things will be happening. So yeah, that's it from me for today. I hope you found it interesting. As always, thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye.